Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar. Are you all ready for one of the finest little rabbit holes today? Now ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to really title this too hard, but quite literally we're talking about the CDC, the WHO, the Wuhan institution, all allegedly hacked, same day, same everything. Now, before we continue, I'm going to burst the bubble just a little bit and say that we're probably walking into a hoax. Why? Well, it's because 4chan, 8chan, every chan is involved. And usually when a chan is involved, it leads to a lot of bullshit. Now, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, okay, let's start from the beginning. Now, earlier in the morning, I tweeted out something. World Health Organization got hijacked. So did the CDC and the Institute of Wuhan. I know that I misspelled health, all right? I'm just going to put it out there because I know somebody in the comment is going to point it out. But I'm just gonna roast myself right there. I'm an idiot. Signal boosting this because the truth comes out soon. Now, pretty much it's hyperbole. Okay, I gave it some credit. Now, as you can see, the tweet is unavailable. Meaning, if you go to the original tweet, gone, wiped. It violated the Twitter rules. Now, if we just read the Twitter rules real quickly, okay? Sorry for the light mode, but Twitter has a bunch of rules which I'm not really gonna get into because Twitter still allows maps on their platforms. All right, so if Twitter's fine with that and getting rid of this, I would say it's quite a difference of of opinion, really, of what I stand on it. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I did save some screen grabs. Because what essentially happened was a lot of database leaks occurred. Now, for those of you who don't know what database leaks are, effectively what happened was a bunch of hackers, quote-unquote, leaked login details from multiple different sites. We're talking about the World Health Organization. We're talking about the CDC. We're talking about the Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation. We're talking about the Institute of Wuhan. And I'm going to show you real quickly. Now, one such actual link that I'm actually allowed to show you is this Wuhan Institute of Virology email and password combinations. Because this takes place in Chinese web space, I'm going to show this to you because roughly speaking, I actually might not show it to you depending on it. Now, this may be censored or uncensored depending on how rational I am, but effectively what you've got over here is login addresses, logins, and then passwords for the logins. So I believe I can show you the passwords, and the passwords here seem pretty normal, for instance, right? Like 38MPG, the passwords like this are normal. You see them as strings of characters. Actually, I believe these to be the most normal passwords we've seen so far. Some of the weird ones are things like captive, and some of the weird ones are when they show a specific name in this case. But that's just a list of usernames and passwords, about 20 of them for the Institute of Virology in Wuhan. Now, there's also other ones that I'm not allowed to show you, but I can tell you what they are, and a lot of them are the cdc.gov that gives you actual email login addresses, and then passwords, and then also a date of birth attached to these accounts. Now, I'm going to show you just a couple passwords that sort of struck me as odd. For instance, passwords like Cellsuit27, Margareta, Akash, Tino, Mary, and then Joby. Listen, I'm just going to point it out real quick, okay? If you were working in any IT team, let alone working for the goddamn CDC, a federal organization, these passwords would never be allowed, okay? I'm just going to put it out there. And that's where we're getting into the hoax argument of it. But that wasn't the only database leak. In this list, we have emails from the worldbank.org, and then we have passwords. And here we can see passwords ranging from IEG Group, Skin84, Giraffe1 would never be allowed. World Bank 2, what a super secure password, huh? Oh, get ready for this one, boys. Spider. Yeah, I'm sure Spider is a real password. I'm sure the IT team wouldn't flag that one as a shit password and they should enter it again. Here's another group of passwords that were leaked. I'm sorry this video can be all over the place. It's just kind of funny to cover this all in. Here's please God, Bethesda, number one cancer. And I love how this one intellect just put password as a password. That's at least use it backwards with one capital letter. That I could accept, but just password, you're begging to have your information stolen. Get out of here. What is this, dude? Pool's closed for you, buddy. Now, to realize what happened, we just looked at database leaks, all right? Now, I definitely have censored a lot of it just due to the fact that I'm not going to show this kind of private information out there because it definitely can get taken down. But I'm going to tell you what is done with these database leaks. See, what you have to understand is these database leaks belong to a lot of these organizations, right? So if you go to their web pages, you can log in using the usernames and passwords that have been leaked, provided an IT team hasn't went in and already flagged those accounts and forced everyone to switch accounts or switch usernames and passwords. Let's try going to one of these areas real quick and checking it out for ourselves. Now, I'm going to tell you at this point, make sure to have a VPN enabled, because if you don't have virtual private networks, you don't have a VM going on, you may be setting yourself up for some disaster. At least, at the very least, have a VPN and have a burner system going on. Don't try this with your main system unless you absolutely know what you're doing. Now, of course, one of the domains is wh.iov.cn. So if you type in wh.iov.cn, all right, in your web browser, you should actually be sent to a web page over here, which I'm not loading up entirely. I think I'm missing a certain set of Chinese characters installed onto my Linux distribution. But as you can see, I'm on an email and login account screen right here. So I'm going to carry one of these emails and I'm going to carry one of these passwords, and we're going to try logging in just to see what happens. All right, so ZMS528. All right, let's hit login for this one. Now, as we hit login on this, what's interesting to know is it's just going to outright tell me to retry this again because it just doesn't work at all. So we're going to go in and try a different set of characters. Now, earlier today when I was testing it, and I don't actually have any screenshot proof of it exactly, but they did actually issue a breach warning. So effectively what happened is the IT team definitely sent out a warning on this webpage and said, hey, listen, passwords have been breached. Now, this doesn't exactly mean that they actually had a breached password set or anything. It may have just been a knee-jerk reaction by an IT team that believed that they may have had compromised accounts. Usually for government and university level access like this, knee-jerk reactions will probably happen just to be on the safer side of the scenario. Does it prove that this exact area was hacked? Probably not, but maybe. You know, it is one of those situations. Now, one of the tools that I'm going to show you real quick is something called URL Fuzzer. Now, this is sort of a, this isn't a foolproof sort of scenario, but usually when it comes to a lot of these website domain addresses, they'll often hide their login accounts for you. So if you ever want to find like a login page that may not be hidden as well, because while I said this isn't foolproof, you can definitely work around this by typing in any email password. Like for instance, let's go to like Google or whatever, right? You can actually check any hidden file or directory system within Google through this. Again, I'm not going to do it because of the sensitive nature of what we're covering. But for a lot of the databases that are listed that you may not have a login to, you can actually use things like URL fuzzers to figure out exactly where you may be able to sign in or not. Again, it's not a foolproof system, but it's kind of an interesting way to look at a lot of web pages that have hidden areas to them. Again, it's not going to work all the time, but it is something that exists. It is a tool that you can use to discover, okay? That being said, let's move on to the next bit of the story. Now, while some pages have had a knee-jerk reaction to the entire scenario, let's actually look at where a lot of this stuff is coming from. Now, this is a post that's on 4chan or 8chan or any of the various chan boards that exist. Now, this page actually talks about the information they recovered using this login address by signing in to not only databases, but through SSH, which for those of you who don't know is a secure shell that you can use to sign in. Effectively, what secure shell is let's say you have the IP address of where you want to connect to, you have a login credential, you know what port you're connecting into, you can actually sign into a terminal shell, and from there you can manipulate the system to your heart's content, as long as you have the required privileges. So for instance, when I'm on a virtual machine gaming, I can actually use SSH to connect back to my main operating system and update the system or transfer a file, or even browse the web through the actual terminal shell if I wanted to. It allows you to port yourself into an actual terminal shell for a specific system. It's mostly for power users or individuals that just want to remote into a system to do what they want real quick. That being said, there are some servers where files are stored and you can SSH into them and just secure file transfer those to your main system if that's what you want to do. Again, I do that when I want to transfer files safely and securely between virtual machines to virtual machines or host to VM, that kind of stuff. But here's one of those 4chan posts, right, where it's like neutralizing antibodies in patients with severe acute respiratory syndrome associated coronavirus infection. The Journal of Infectious Disease. So this is apparently an alleged document they found, right? And it says that one of the authors, Deng Hongqi, had worked on HIV extensively using CRISPR, although it was to edit genes to give resistance. So apparently it's alleged that this may have actually been a manufactured super biological weapon created by these Wuhan labs, which again, I'm not going to get into the validity of because yes, because it's coming from like a 4chan thread, you can't take it seriously. Come on. Here's another doozy. Dr. Zhengli Shi took a bus from Wuhan's Institute of Technology to the P4 lab, roughly 16 miles. She stopped one time halfway through her journey, opened her suitcase, and placed a block of contaminated dry ice near an air vent in the fish markets. Whew! All right, you hear that? It's ripe for conspiracies, dude. Ripe for it. Again, can you trust 4chan? No, you can't. Now, where does this magical world lead to? Well, it leads to projectevidence.github.io. Ooh, Project Evidence? Evidence SARS-CoV-2 emerged from a biological lab in Wuhan, China. Published April 16, 2020. They were pre-toking this one, so let's get into it. The goal of this document is to examine evidence that may prove that SARS-CoV-2 virus was present at a biolab in Wuhan, China, and SARS-CoV-2 virus was introduced to the greater pop by an infected lab worker or animal. And they're going to talk about claim 1 and 2. Now, by the way, this is a long page, okay? So if this is an application, if this is a PSYOP, this is a trolling op, it's a very elaborated trolling op from 4chan. But let's go down real quick, okay? Now, what's interesting about this to note is not just here, because we are going to look into the condensed viewpoints of all of this. Now, here they talk about suspected laboratories, right? So here they've mapped out the Huanan seafood market where this originally had shot from. And then they had the Virology Institute right over here. Now, each of these are 33-minute drives from 3 various ports that they can access from, right? And from here, what alleged is that a block of dry ice was placed over in this area that was contaminated with this virus, and this is where it all started from, in these wet markets. And that's what led to the place where we are today. So here they're trying to figure out the origin points of where these labs were, and then the actual route they may have taken to get to this exact seafood market where things had caught off. Now let's go to the goddamn end of it. As you can see, long page. So here they have the conclusion. Developed chimeric-like coronavirus, conducted dangerous gain-of-function research on the original virus, established a 96.2% match with CoV-2 and a virus they sampled from a cave 1,000 miles away, injected live piglets with bat viruses, tested its disinfecting procedures with a bat virus, again, you can see where the trolling ops get into, was hiring researchers to work on bats the U.S. State Department claimed had inadequate safety, detailed a press release detailing a U.S. state visit. So as you can see, this goes far above and beyond, and I believe HIV gets mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. They combined S with parts of HIV, which does infect human cells, to see if this new S could infect human cells. So yeah, they talk about HIV quite literally into it. As you can see, it's very, very, very in-depth. It's almost like looking into QAnon. If you've ever remembered that real quickly, you can see how like weird that conspiracy can end up getting into. But usually, ladies and gentlemen, I must say, this almost feels like a full-on operation performed by 4chan. Now here's an actual article that just released 3 hours ago, talks about this hack in particular. It says, on Monday, users of the internet forum 4chan began circulating more than 2,000 passwords they claimed were linked to WHO email accounts. The details soon spread on Twitter and other social media websites, which claimed that the WHO had been the victim of a hack. Mariano's team conducted that the WHO hadn't been hacked, but that the passwords of some employees had been obtained from other data breaches. The employees have used their work email addresses to register an account for a particular website, and then that website is hacked, thus leaking the password. This is more common than you expect. Let's say that you use the same password for multiple different websites. I've talked about this before. If you use the same email and the same password set across multiple websites, remember, not every website is the same. Each of them has a different layer of security versus the other. Some sites are more compromised. Let's say that you're connecting to something like Google, right? It's far more secure to use those credentials with Google than, say, some random third-party forum that's out there, Joe Schmo, that's using older software, has tons of exploits, and eventually will be hacked. That's how most of these passwords end up leaked out into the world anyways. Not because of some crazy person getting a bunch of these hashes and cracking them all on their own. It's usually a data set that's been hacked, leaked out into the world, and people download that, sift through it to find any similarities, and then they try using those similarities on like multiple other websites, and that's pretty much what happened here. So it's not really an elaborate hack. It's usually just people looking through databases, finding that they could have login credentials at the WHO or the CDC or any of these organizations, and not really getting anywhere further from it. Now, this page apparently, now the people who created this original like evidence page called themselves as Project Epstein. Come on, you guys are making it obvious this is a troll op. Get out of here, dude. Come on, what Karen is gonna fall for this? Get out of here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will say this could have a potential for being real, considering how these how Twitter has dealt with removing a lot of these like email accounts. This video is going to be quite sensitive. I may not be able to show you a whole heck of a lot, but this whole evidence page that you can find on the internet anywhere, Project Evidence GitHub.io, will contain this giant document you can read through. Now, normally in my mind, I still consider this a trolling op, because when you're including 4chan, 8chan, 10chan, whatever chans exist out there, trust me, boys got a lot of free time on their hand. They'll come up with the wildest stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, we started off with what I believe to be the biggest hoax of a hack possible, but which eventually led into what is the Project Evidence. Now, again, take it how you will. I don't endorse it. I don't really believe in it. But ladies and gentlemen, maybe I'm just a goddamn sheeple. But that is the tale of the historic 420 hack around the world. This is me, Mutahar. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.